Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're really diving into something I think you're going to find fascinating, how the hobbies we choose can actually play a role in sustainable living.
Hmm.
We've got some excerpts here from an article called Hobbies That Nurture a Sustainable Life. And I'm excited to dig into this with you.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Because it's not just about, keeping ourselves busy in our free time. This is about activities that can actually, connect us back to nature, maybe even benefit the planet in the process. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's like finding that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Where your own passions and interests kind of intersect with living a more responsible life.
Yeah.
And this article does a really great job of giving us some concrete examples of how that actually plays out.
Yeah, totally. And it kicks off with gardening, which I thought was so fitting. I
So,
mean,
yeah.
it's easy to just think of gardening as, oh, I'm going to grow some tomatoes, which is great. Don't get me wrong. I love a good tomato. But it's way more than that.
Right. It's so true.
This article, brought back all these memories of how gardening really teaches you patience, how to nurture something over time. It gives you this whole different understanding of how things actually grow.
And I think that ties into the whole sustainability aspect so directly. Like when you're choosing what to plant in your garden, opting for those native plants or those heirloom varieties, you're actually like actively promoting biodiversity, which is essential for those healthy ecosystems we need.
That's so important.
Like, planting milkweed. Did you know that that can actually help support the monarch butterfly population, which is really struggling?
Oh, wow. I didn't know that about milkweed specifically. See, this is what I love about these deep dives, always learning something new.
Right. There's always something.
And of course, when you're growing your own food, even if it's just a little bit, you're cutting down on all that transportation, the packaging that comes with, all the store-bought stuff. It's like this win-win for you and the environment.
For sure.
There's this one story in the article that really resonated with me. Is about this woman, Sarah, who moved to a teeny tiny city apartment. And, she was really missing that feeling of being connected to nature.
Yeah.
So what'd she do? She starts a balcony garden.
I love that.
Just a little patch of green, it made me realize you can find that connection even in a concrete jungle.
It's a great reminder. It doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming thing.
Yeah.
You can start small.
Yeah, exactly. Small actions, big impact. And speaking of connecting with our food, this article takes it a step further with, are you ready for this?
Okay. I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Foraging.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, foraging,
Okay.
which I know might sound a little intimidating,
Yeah.
maybe even a little out there to some people, but it's
Yeah.
really about, tapping back into this really ancient way of finding and appreciating the food that literally grows naturally around us.
It's like the ultimate local seasonal eating.
Right.
It doesn't get more local than that.
Talk about knowing where your food comes from. This is next level.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what I love about it? There's this amazing historical aspect to it, too. Imagine walking through the woods and, recognizing those edible plants and mushrooms, the same ones that people have relied on for generations.
Wow.
It's like you're tapping into this ancient wisdom about the land and our place in it.
It's like this whole other layer of connection. That's incredible. But I mean, you can't just go wandering around eating anything, right? I mean, the article really emphasizes going with someone knowledgeable, for safety, obviously, and also just for proper identification.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
It's not something to just jump into blindly.
definitely not. But I mean, just the idea that you can get exercise, fresh air, and this deeper understanding of nature's bounty all at once, that's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool. It's a pretty incredible package deal.
It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it gets you thinking, with foraging. It's not even just about the food itself. It's about that knowledge, that awareness you gain. You start to see everything around you differently, like a secret world is opened up.
Oh, totally, totally. You're suddenly so in tune with these rhythms of nature you never even noticed before. So
Yeah.
cool. Okay, so maybe foraging isn't everyone's cup of tea, but what about bird watching? Now, that's another hobby this article dives into, and it might seem kind of simple on the surface, but I mean, it's actually incredibly insightful.
No, you're so right. The article makes a good point about how birdwatching makes you aware of how interconnected everything really is.
Right.
You start to notice different species, their behaviors, how much they depend on having a healthy habitat,
Yeah.
all those things.
It's like a crash course in ecology, but way more fun than reading a textbook.
Totally. But I think because you're seeing these relationships firsthand,
Yeah.
right, you're observing, it's like you're naturally becoming more invested in protecting it.
Right.
So it's not surprising that you see a lot of bird watchers who become like really passionate advocates for conservation.
Oh, absolutely. I can see that. There was this story in here about a guy named John. He actually found a lot of solace in birdwatching after he lost his job. It reminded me how connecting with nature can be so therapeutic. Not just for the planet, but for ourselves too.
It's so true. And, connecting with nature through observation is one thing.
Hmm.
But what about expressing that connection, creatively?
Yeah.
This article talks about nature crafting too.
Yes, this is one of my favorite parts. Okay, so you might not be super into like the whole foodie thing or birds, but art, I mean, come on, who doesn't love art, right?
Right.
And the article highlights how nature just provides endless inspiration for crafting. And of course, using natural materials is inherently eco-friendly, so it's like a double win.
Absolutely. It's about looking at the resources that we already have around us
Yeah.
and giving them that second life.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just fun. It really gets those creative juices flowing.
Totally, totally. And there was this one story about Maria. I mean, this just blew me away. She makes her own pigments
Wow.
from berries and
That's
flowers.
amazing.
Like, how cool is that? It just shows you that you don't need all those like fancy, expensive store-bought art supplies. You
Hmm.
can still create beautiful, sustainable art.
It's true. It's about thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
realizing that nature provides so much of what we need already,
Right.
often for free, which is amazing. It's this powerful reminder that sustainability can be for everyone. It's accessible.
It's inspiring for sure. And I don't know about you, but reading through this article, exploring all these different hobbies, it gives me a sense of hope. I
Yeah.
feel like we can get so bogged down in all the doom and gloom about the state of the planet. But this article, it really highlights that there's like a whole other side to the story. It's about finding that joy in our connection with nature. And through those connections, maybe we naturally start making choices that are better for the planet. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's not about, like you said, it's not about being perfect or doing everything perfectly right.
Hmm.
It's about taking those small steps
Mhm.
and actually enjoying those steps,
Right.
finding that joy in it. It shouldn't feel like a chore. Right?
Exactly. Exactly. It's not about guilt or deprivation. It's about like reconnecting with something bigger than ourselves.
Totally.
Rediscovering those simple pleasures that honestly nature just offers so freely. And what I think is really cool is this article, it's really just scratching the surface. We talked about gardening, foraging, bird watching, nature crafting.
Right.
But I mean, there are so many other amazing nature-based hobbies out there.
Oh my gosh, so many.
Think about it, permaculture, herbalism, wildlife photography. The list goes on and on.
It really does.
Hmm.
And each one of those is like a different path,
Right.
leading you to that connection with nature, that more sustainable way of being. And that's the thing. It's about finding what truly speaks to you, what lights you up, what makes you feel excited, and approach it with curiosity. Yeah. We all have that within us, that desire to learn, to explore.
That's so true. So to our listener out there, I really hope that this deep dive has maybe sparked some ideas. Like, what is it that you've always wanted to try, but maybe haven't gotten around to? Maybe it's time to like dust off those old binoculars in the back of your closet, plant that seed that you've been holding on to, or hey, maybe even just step into the woods with fresh eyes.
I love that. Fresh eyes.
Right. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to just dive in. Who knows? You might just discover a passion that you never even knew you had.
Absolutely.
And hey, if it makes the world a little bit greener in the process, that's a win-win.
That's a win-win for
Yeah.
sure.